Good afternoon and welcome to my hobby table. As you can see from the title of the video and what's on my table, today's video discussion is about OS glow plugs, and specifically the number 8s and the number 6s, or the number 6 also known as the A3 plug. Now, raise your hand if you have bought either a number 6 or a number 8 plug within the last, I don't know, 5 to 6 years. I have. I've bought several glow plugs in the last years. But believe it or not, I had no idea that there was actually companies, and I'm assuming that the companies are in China, making counterfeit OS glow plugs. And it wasn't until a few months ago that a good friend of mine in Germany, Uwe, informed me of that, and he informed me of the links on the OS website, which we'll get to later, where OS acknowledges that there's these companies making these OS fake plugs, and how you can determine if the ones you've purchased are fake or not. Well, I can tell you one thing right now, the quickest and easiest way to know if you're purchasing or if you bought a fake glow plug is if the price of the plug is at least $2 to $3 less expensive than the real plug. Because, like, if you do I shop almost exclusively on eBay for a lot of things. And when I needed plugs, I would just look up, glow plugs on eBay. And of course, eBay is going to list plugs from people, individuals selling them or companies selling them. Typically, I would look for the plugs from individuals because they're usually a little bit less expensive, and sometimes they're a little bit older packaging and more nostalgic. And we'll get into that also. But there's also a ton of, just, hey, they've got these pictures of these full sheets and you can buy either, 2, 3, the full sheet or whatever. But if you look at those ads and you see prices that are literally, $2 to $3 less than X, this one over here, look at where it's being sold, or look at the vendor ID and where they're selling that from. And if it says China, chances are it's a fake plug. And so let's get into this. What I'm going to do here is, first, I'm going to talk about packaging. And just like engines, the packaging of glow plugs has changed over the course of the years. And I've just got a small sample here of some OS 8 plugs and a couple of A6 plugs, or number 6 A3 plugs. Now, bear in mind, a lot of this video is going to be a little bit challenging for me to show you, because some of the proof that these are fake is very small details in the packaging, and even at maximum zoom I'm going to have a hard time showing you those things, but we'll get to that here eventually. But as far as packaging goes, let's look at let's see here, the packaging here. Okay, let's look at this packaging, this comparative packaging. So this is an older style packaging. This is probably the latest packaging from OS right here. And you can see there is still this little pink stripe on there, but this portion of it is much different. Now, these are old because, and I can tell you they're old because they're all curled up and wrinkled and yellow. The paper is yellow. I can't tell you the year. But if you look at the backs of these, you'll also see a huge difference here. And one of the easiest ways to tell how old some of these glow plugs are is if it has a HTTP, www.os, if it has a website on it, chances are that plug is at least from the mid to late 90s, maybe even just the 2000s. This plug here, or these two plugs here, I know, like I said, this is going to be really tough because it's small writing and I haven't zoomed in the camera either. Trust me, there is no website addresses on these. So that's one way you can tell right away if plugs you've got are really old. And I say really old, and I'm talking when did the internet come out in full force? Maybe 88, 89. Oh wait, no, 90-ish, early 90s. So I mean, maybe places weren't even, like some place like this didn't even have a website until 95 or so. I don't know. All I know is If it doesn't have a website on there, a website address, it's a damn old plug. Suffice it to say that. So that's an old thing. So packaging is a big thing. Easy enough to tell. If you're getting brand new plugs, obviously you're going to have or plugs not sold from an individual necessarily, but from a company or a vendor that purchases new items, you'll get probably the latest and greatest packaging. Now, let's get to what are some of the ways you can tell that you've got some fake glow plugs. And we're going to look at the number 8s first because that's what I've got the most examples of here. Now, like I said, I'll put links to these links on the video in the description of the video. But one of the first ways you can tell that your number 8 plug and A6 plug, A6, I'm saying it's A3 number 6, plugs are fake is by how the OS is placed on the outer portion of it. A genuine OS product is going to have a stamped OS on there. Same with the number 8. It would be stamped. A counterfeit product will be laser cut. Now, when Uwe informed me of this, the first thing I did was I checked, what I had here versus the documentation. And I was like, well, I intentionally now want to go and buy a fake plug. Well, was it hard to do? Hell no, it wasn't hard to do. It was very easy to do. So I went on eBay, found the first OS glow plug sold from a vendor in China and placed an order. And it was about $6. And I think these number 8 plugs at that time when I bought it was probably in November of last year. I think those prices on these plugs now is, $8 to $10 or so. And this was literally $2.5 to $3 less. So that was my first clue that it was a fake or a counterfeit plug. So I bought that plug and I've been sitting on it for all this time until I had the motivation to make this video. And we're going to open this package up and I'm going to show you this package and we're going to go through some of this stuff. We won't be able to look at the stamped markings until I open up the packages of each and we compare them. And like I said, that part should be much easier to see on camera than what we're going to look at next here. The next thing that you can tell, okay, so this is the number 6s. They're showing the same type of thing. I don't think this is counter. The next thing is on the packaging. And here's where it gets really, really interesting. Is the packaging difference. And you'll see this is the style marketing package that I've got here. Not these older ones, these newer ones. Not that one. These two here. Because see, even this one's got the old style OS on there. So we're going to we already know that's an original, that's a good one. So we're going to say that's out of here. So the next thing is with the packaging. And the first thing they've got shown here is the number 8 on these. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here and really try to make sure that I keep this in the frame here. So right now I'm craning my neck looking at my LCD screen and not looking down at all because I'm trying to keep this in focus. So as you can see here, the genuine OS product, they're showing the 8. Now what they're showing here in the text is that this 8, the inner holes of the 8, the top and the bottom, actually have a point on them. There's like a little point on there. Now if I move over here, and you can even kind of see a slight difference in the way the 8 is shaped. You look at this fake counterfeit product, the center of those O's does not have that point at all. They're completely oval or ellipses. Now we're going to look at this on my product here too. Now this one here that I've got is a fake plug. This is the fake plug I bought. And one of the reasons I can tell is because it had this thing on here, which is probably doesn't tell me much of anything other than it was just sold, it was pulled off the card and sold like this. But the thing that really disturbs me about this is that these are fake plugs, or this is a fake plug, and it still says made in Japan. Now, I'm no legal expert or anything, but I'm pretty damn sure that in the United States, if you make a counterfeit product and label it as that it's not yours, you put somebody else's name on it, say it's made there or whatever, that's really not good. You can really get in a lot of trouble for that. But anyway, so like I said, this is the fake plug. I'm just going to kind of leave this on here for now. So this is the fake plug. So let's look at that number 8. I'm going to hold this up here as close as I can and keep it in focus. I don't see a point on those holes and the two that form the 8 in the center. Now let's look at this one here. This one is a true OS glow plug packaging. Now can you see the difference there? Can you see the little points? The points are at the bottom of this hole of the 8 and at the top of this one. And if when I'm editing this I can't see it good enough, I'll just take a screenshot from the video and magnify it or do a digital zoom on it and see if it doesn't lose resolution. So that's the first thing. So that's a comparison there, and obviously this is a plug that I happen to have already used, and I have no idea where that particular plug is. I do happen to have an OS 8 plug here now, and this just so happens to be the plug that came out of the what is it? That Moki 1.8 engine. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm not sure we're going to be able to see the difference between stamping. And this one's kind of marred up. It's kind of dirty there. So I'm going to open up one of these other plugs, and we'll check and see. Okay, so according to that, that's one way you can tell a fake from OS's website. The next way, let me zoom out just a hair here, is within this portion of the card, and it says the genuine product. It talks about the home page address, the web address, in that the web address for the original product is not in italics. It's in just standard, I don't know what font it is, but it's not italicized. And if you look at this one here, this is from their website, the fake one, you can see the website address there is in italics. Now let's compare that with, this is the fake one here. This is where it's going to get really tough because I just don't know if this lens is going to handle this or not. And this looks like it's about as close as it's going to get. I can tell you for a fact, I had to put on the magnifier to see it. It's italicized. And I just don't know if I'm going to be able to show you that here and prove it. Maybe if I hold it out far enough and then I do a screenshot and zoom in on it, you'll be able to tell. But right here, where it's talking about the website address, those letters are italics. That's the Chinese fake. This is the original. Now I'm having a hard time getting it to focus at all. Yeah, this is really tough. Suffice it to say, the website address there is not italicized. And heck, on this older plug, that's a whole other thing, is this plug here, one of the older plugs, doesn't even have a website address on the front or the back. This just has a whole bunch of really small, really small writing on it. And if you just flip these over and look at the backs of these two, this is basically what even this one looks like. Except it looks like on the backs of these, both of them are italicized. So that italics for the website address looks like it only applies to the front face of these plugs, or the card. So let's see, here's yet another means to determine the difference. This one, it's not even going to be important. It's not even going to be possible for me to show you. Oh, actually, what they were showing here was they're talking about this. There's this checkerboard pattern here. The checkerboard pattern has a different gradient to it or something. That's something that I even have a difficult time looking at with my own eyes here. So it was this next page which unfortunately when I printed it out got cut off, where they're talking about the circle in the eighths of the genuine product has a sharp tip, while the counterfeit product has a rounded tip. Tips, they're calling the bottoms and tops of those inner circles tips on this website here, which is interesting. So anyway, now, like I said, these plugs are so damn small. I just don't know if me taking them out and trying to show you the laser engraving or the stamped engraving is going to be beneficial. I want to just make sure that I keep it straight here. So I'm opening this Chinese fake one up here real quick, and I'm just going to take a look at it with my eye. Okay, let me see that. Okay, open that up. Now, like I said, this one is an original OS. I'm not holding this for your benefit at this point. I'm holding it for my own eyes, just to see if I can see the difference. Like I said, this thing is really, it's got some crud on there. You really need magnifiers. Oh, okay, yeah. Under magnification, you can very, very clearly see that. And I just so happen to have the light on these in such a way that I can really very clearly see it. Oh boy, that's just, wow. And I will do the best I can to see if I can't get a picture of this, a cell phone picture or something. I don't know. I don't know if any lens on any camera I've got is good enough to show you this, but boy, you can really tell a difference. It's very easy to see the difference. I'm going to do this just because, and I know it isn't going to work. Jeez, that's just, I'm sorry guys, I just I'm having technical difficulties because the lenses here just don't have the power to do what I need it to do. But boy, just looking at that with my bare eyes, or my eyes without my glasses on, without magnifiers, I was able to really tell a difference there. So you may say, after all this stuff I've just gone through, so what? Who cares? They're less expensive. They still glow. They might work. Well, so yes and no, that's true. But what OS talks about on their website is, and I don't think I printed that sheet out, is the ramifications of potentially. Let me just flip through my sheets here real quick and see if I did print that out. Okay, yeah, here we go. So they also, OS went to the trouble of, they did a cutaway, and they cut away a good plug or a genuine plug and a counterfeit plug, and they came up with the evaluation of counterfeit products. So I'm going to read this to you verbatim. It says here, the threads, okay, so this is a big deal here. At OS Engines, we evaluated the following counterfeit glow plugs. The threads on some counterfeit glow plugs are defective and cannot be installed into the cylinder head correctly. Forcing in will only damage the head. Holy shit, that is a big deal right there. And, there have been times that I can recall trying to get an OS glow plug to go in a head and had difficulty doing it. Now, I believe that was an F plug, and as far as I know, F plugs are not being counterfeited, but it could have been one of these, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? Why isn't this just going in? So that's one thing right there. I mean, period, right there. You buy these fake glow plugs, and you had a good chance of stripping the threads out in your head. So right there, that's a game changer for me. I will never even bother with a fake plug unless I'm extremely careful. Of course, one of the things I do have, though, is I have a 1/4x32 die. And in the past, years and years ago, I used to run every plug I ever made through that die before I put it in any engine. I have stopped doing that for whatever strange reason, because maybe I thought it was too time consuming, but it was a valuable thing for me to do. 1/4x32 UNC, I think, is the die you need. That's the threads for glow plugs, and I highly recommend getting one and running every single freaking glow plug you buy through that, and any used plug, any glow plug you've got that you still use, run it through that thing just to clean the threads up. So anyway, so the second item here is the shape of the coil and number of coils are different from the original. Wow, that's a big deal too. That's a very big deal. Now we're going to get to even more important things. The wire diameter of the coil is different. The dimensions and shape of the center electrode are significantly different, which is this thing here. So this one is thicker, shorter, is going to conduct heat much better than this one probably. So there is a clear difference in driving performance. They say driving performance. Idle is not stable, engine stalls more often, less power, engine feels heavier, throttle response is not as responsive. The use of counterfeit products may cause unexpected malfunctions and or damages. We are not liable for any damages or losses caused to the customer who purchased or used these counterfeit. How they're ever going to prove that is beyond me. So here's the bottom line. You buy these plugs that you see that are $2 or $3 less and you think, wow, this is really a great deal. I'm really getting a good deal. Well, think twice about that, because chances are, if they're coming from China, if that's where the vendor is, and if you're buying them from eBay, chances are maybe a hobby store, if hobby stores existed or still sold glow plugs, maybe they would have the real thing. But if they don't, you can kind of try and verify some of that with some of these first things I talked about. Otherwise, if you're buying them online, which maybe you have to now, you're taking a huge risk, and buying these $2 or $3 less expensive glow plugs is really a risk, because you can damage the head of your engine, which in a lot of cases can just completely destroy it, because if there's no replacement heads or you don't have the skills to rethread the head, well, then your engine's toast. And it can also make you think you don't know how to tune an engine. Even if you know how to tune an engine, all of a sudden you're using one of these plugs and you're like, what the hell's going on here? This thing just doesn't idle anymore. It doesn't transition anymore. Maybe it's the damn glow plug. And it's not you at all. And it's not the fuel, it's the plug. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. And if you have a flame out on takeoff or something, you could actually lose an airplane over it. So, I mean, there's just no real rationale for no justification for purchasing these counterfeit plugs to save a couple of dollars just to go out and fly. There's just no justification for it, because one, you're only risking your own hobby items, and two, you're just continuing to reinforce this negative or poor behavior, poor business practices. It's just not right. So this has been kind of a long video for such a short subject, I believe, but I think it's important to alert you guys that are still flying to these things, because, you know, like I said, it was only just a few months ago that I found out that there was even such a thing as counterfeit glow plugs, and who knows how many I have used in the past. And maybe that's why I had some kind of irregular results in some engine runs. Who knows, though. But anyway, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching.